Etepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about how we are being subliminally programmed for destruction. But before I go into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe bell to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you want to know more about my spiritual teachings, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. There's no obligation, and you can cancel at any time. As a supporter, you'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, on the spiritual, videos that will teach you how to put together a magical amulet, how to meditate properly, how to do proper breathing exercises to calm your spirit, how to do lucid dreaming, how to contact your guardian angel. And we also have a lot of great articles that you have access to. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. Haru Nefer, Grand Rising, Namaste. I'm going to talk about a very important topic that we often neglect, and we tend not to deal with it. And this has caused us to be in the condition, the very condition that we're in today. And the condition that I mean is being a victim, being oppressed. You see, one of the mistakes movements like the Black Nationalist movement, the Civil Rights movement, the Afrocentric movement, the Pan-African movement made is to not really deal with culture, not really get into the culture of our ancestors. Oh, we addressed it from a very topical way, but we didn't take a deep dive into it. And consequently, we're dealing with an enemy. And I try not to use that word because Tahuti says nothing has a quality in and of itself. But to facilitate this conversation, we'll say enemy. Our enemy is diabolical, and they will not leave us alone. And I'm talking to white people and black people because we're all eventually, at the end of the day, in the same boat. This enemy is doing everything it can to, assault us, cause great division, and they do this to their PSYOP projects. Now, I want to first start off by saying it's not my intent to slander or to come against any racial group, political group, any gender. I merely want to lay out the facts for you and have you decide for yourself. So please forgive me if I say something that you may perceive as insensitive. But the reality of the situation is that our movements have failed miserably and not really getting deep into culture. And our enemies have taken advantage of that, And the reason I say this is because if you take a look at churches, especially your mega churches, on Sunday, they're packed. And these people are being influenced and misled. And it's done on purpose, you see. While the pimp pastor ministers walk away filthy rich, and the poor and impoverished come, and every week they're given hope. So they come back the next week and the next week, and they're given hope and hope. And consequently, nothing comes to fruition. They get nothing in return for their tithing. But the minister gets his houses and planes. But I digress. The thing I want to talk about is you have to understand that we're dealing with a very left brain society. It's very segregative. It's very topical. It seeks to segregate or separate, label, and define. It doesn't look at how things are alike. So what you have is a society that is built, especially by your mass media, on trying to create division. And in many ways, this is what the left brain does. This is what the ruling elite are doing. And then when you combine that with the reptilian brain, then you have the quest for power and hierarchy. You understand? And our lack of understanding this has put us in a very, very difficult plight. Because we have become nothing more than programs. We have been programmed through socially engineered tactics, and we're acting in ways that are diametrically opposed to our true nature. And we don't realize it because the nature of subliminal programming is not, it's beyond your senses. You're not aware of it. And I use the term the elusive obvious. It's right there, but it's very elusive. You're not aware of it. So consequently, you are being programmed through mass media, through posters, signs, special interest groups gather to take positions that are higher above black people. That's right. You have groups out there that are sponsored and paid by wealthy billionaires for the specific purpose of putting our interests aside so that these other special interest groups can become dominant and top of mind in mainstream media. And we can't allow that to happen because we have literally bled to build this country. Our ancestors have. But you see, our organizations, be them the NAACP, Black Nationals, Pan-Africanists, have failed to really get into the nature of what our culture and religions were about. And one of the things that they relied heavily upon was culture, was programming. And I want to introduce you to two concepts that come directly out of the Kemetic spiritual tradition, which is Nekabet and Wajet. Wajet is the offensive power of the psyche, and Nekabet is the defensive power. Wajet was put at the head of Kemet, a big monument to protect Kemet, and Nekabet was behind Kemet to protect the back so that no one could flank it. And these were the subliminal psychic powers that could assault you. So if your Nekabet and Wajet were weak, then you were open to psychic programming and seduction. And we failed to understand this because we're being assaulted subliminally every day. We have an innate sense of low self-esteem. We don't like ourselves. So what we do, in fact, is we have waged war against ourselves. We're killing each other. So we're getting it from outside and inside. We go about, the Black nationalists go about with these lectures But it's just feel good talk. You're not dealing with the mind, the subliminal programming that our people have undergone. By, like I said, the special interest groups and the mainstream institutions. You don't realize how much the unconscious mind influences your actions. It is a large part of why you are the way you are. And you don't even realize it. And to not address it and deal with it is a recipe for destruction, which is where we're at now. Shooting each other, killing each other, fighting. I was at a pool party with a good friend, and I asked him, why don't they ever have black DJs? I've never seen a black DJ. And he said they won't, simply because if you have a black DJ and black people come, there'll be fighting and gunshots. And I was just like, wow, I never thought about that. You know? So I want you to understand, through these forces of Nekabet and Wajet, we're being assaulted. This is why in the Kemetic spiritual culture, so much emphasis was put upon that, as well as meditation. Because meditation is the gateway to the right brain. The right brain is the seat of your emotions. It is by the pathway by which you can be reprogrammed. And right now, we're programmed for failure. We're programmed to act against our own best interest. You don't see it happening, but it's happening. And there have been studies and people who have tried to warn us about this. One of them were Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, who in his papers that he wrote about the collective unconscious, how we're all collectively tied to each other through the unconscious mind. Because really there is not many different minds, there's only one. And we share thoughts, we share energy. And contained within this collective unconscious, he talked about the archetypes, the mother archetype, the father archetype, the hermit archetype. And then let's get more esoteric here, so we can understand the nature of the beast that we're dealing with here. Through this collective unconscious, you can upload things, ideas, that take seed and germinate. And if you put a virus in this collective unconscious, it will pollute the minds of the people. Thus we call it subliminal programming. And think tank institutions like Tavistock, the Council on Foreign Relations, they all know this. The Rockefeller Foundation, they all know this. So they funnel lots of money into these subliminal messages and programs. You see, this was realized a long time ago with studies like the 100 Monkey Principle, where they saw monkeys who were separated from each other, Japanese monkeys who were separated from each other by islands, who could have no contact with one another. And one set of monkeys on one island learned to clean nuts a certain way. And then that information and knowledge transferred over to another set of monkeys in a faraway adjacent island. And they wondered, well, how is that possible? Through the collective unconscious, through that psychic connection that we all share. This is why we all are one, Ma'at. So any behavior that a group exhibits if it reaches a certain tipping point, it will spread like a virus to all the people. And we could take this a step further with the Willie Lynch letter, where in that letter it talked about conditioning a slave, beating a slave, so that they intake certain behavior, condition them to be lighter skin, condition them to hate darker skin, condition them to go against each other. And what Willie Lynch talked about was the fact that once you do this conditioning, it would spread among the slaves and take seed. And by then, all the slaves would be submissive. And then there would no need to have a slave master, because they would be acting on, let's say, autopilot. They would grow to love their slave master. They would grow to want to be enslaved. They would grow to only love white skin. This programmed behavior is still with us today. And if you connect the dots from Carl Jung's collective unconscious to the Willie Lynch letter to the 100 Monkey Principle, you can see something there. You will start to realize that people can be made to respond and act in certain ways without the need of a police force, without the need of teachers. And that this programming will be carried on generation after generation after generation. I submit to you that black people will never rebel against the system, because we have been programmed not to. We have been programmed to be subservient and not to strike back at the system. We have been programmed to be fearful of the established order. Sheeple. Yet we can go and hear a great lecture by a great civil rights activist or Pan-Africanist or black nationalist, but never take action. Because the subconscious mind is symbolized by an iceberg. You see, floating on the water is the tip of the iceberg, but below it, you see the gigantic iceberg underneath. And that gigantic iceberg under the water is the subconscious mind. That's how powerful it is. And the right programming could keep a people in control for generations. And that's where we're at. And you see, we go to the next level. Because once you understand Nekabet and Wajet as psychic forces or subliminal forces, you must understand that they directly relate to Aset or Isis, because she is the woman that transfers culture. onto the children. We talk about there's no fathers in the household. And that's not necessarily correct, because we know that studies show that black fathers are more involved in their children's lives than white fathers are. And just because black fathers may not be in the household doesn't mean that they're not interacting and taking care of their kids. But the fact of the matter is, we are not dealing with, even though you'll bring that argument up that black fathers are not in the household, well, what are black women teaching their kids? Or are they teaching them at all? And if you see here, Aset is nurturing or nursing baby Haru. Now, in the Kemetic Metuneta oracle system, we have Sheps, or Shepsu in this case, which is honored ancestors or history, culture. She's directly responsible for transferring culture onto the children. But what we find is that our kids are not being taught. And if they are, they're being taught by other children, parents who have not grown up themselves. But they are programmed by mass media. They are programmed by hip hop. They are programmed by the white system. This is why if we don't deal and contend with these forces, we're going to be in trouble. As I said before, and we're going to take this to another level, you can upload thoughts, ideas, ideologies into the collective unconscious, and that's what has happened. And what it does, and this is getting into our spiritual system directly, is that it takes the form of an ergobore. What is an ergobore now? An ergobore is a thought virus, a thought spirit that when fed grows and becomes more powerful. So when Willie Lynch talked about this programming and 100 Monkeys talked about this programming, it fails to go into the idea of once this programming takes shape, it grows and becomes an ergobore. It becomes a thought spirit, for good or for bad. And this ergobore will become strong enough, if fed properly, to where it'll start to influence others, indoctrinate others. When a corporation first starts out and it gets its articles of incorporation and its board of directors and all that, they first come up with a symbol. You see CBS, the eye, the all-seeing eye is their symbol, which is really a sigil. And from there, they put together their ideology, their belief system as a corporation. And that starts the process of the creation of the ergobore. And if you play ball with the corporation, you'll be rewarded. If you don't, if you go against the corporation's ergobore, you'll get terminated. You'll find yourself making crazy mistakes at work, people coming against you for no reason. Because the ergobore's prime directive is to survive. And it cannot survive with contradictory thoughts. So if you have altruistic ideas and you come to the table with that, the ergobore needs to get rid of you. And it'll do so whatever means possible. Racism on this planet was started as a thought virus. an herbivore. And it has since become a very powerful and dominant herbivore. And it seeks to stay alive and grow by influencing others, and they become consequently white supremacists, by going after black people, putting them in very compromising positions, destroying families' lives. It is an entity that is conscious, and it seeks to separate, divide, cause conflict. That is its nature. That is what it's for. So when I tell you, and I mean this sincerely, you are not a sentient individual. You are a program. And you act based upon the most dominant program. We all are under the influence of an herbivore. And as I said, there are some good herbivores that are trying to spread peace and justice on the planet. And they need to grow. And they need our help. But right now, we are under the influence of a negative herbivore. And that's causing us to kill off one another, to fight one another. We can't live like this. We cannot. These forces are psychically affecting us. And they're being nurtured and fed by the oligarchy. Because you may not believe in the supernatural, in the metaphysical, but these people do. And they practice it on a daily basis. They practice occultism. And the ironic part about it is they got it from us. They learned these metaphysical techniques from us. And when they learned of these powerful, powerful forces, they started, see, at one time, the entire planet was governed by different spiritual occult systems. And then this one group decided it wanted to take control of the planet, and that it would use these occult systems to do so. And they sought to gain power and put the world in ignorance. Because if you're ignorant of these things, then it's easy for others who know of these techniques to control you. So they sought out to burn down the various libraries which contained a wealth of occult knowledge and advanced knowledge. One of the primary ones was the Library of Alexandria. The head librarian was Hypatia. They burnt her, stripped her, burnt her body, pulled her flesh off her body. It was awful what they did. But that was the start of the seizing of knowledge. Now, this occult knowledge and wisdom is in the Vatican, in the catacombs of the Vatican. So I want you to think about this and what I'm saying. That you're not who you think you are. You don't act independently. You're not a free thinker, a free individual. You're a program. Look and examine the ideas that you nurture and support. And that will tell you a lot about who you are. If this message resonates with you, I want you to donate to the channel if you can. This is Qesankh Ma'at Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. My aunt is a beautiful goddess, Heteru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.